Welcome to Beast
Wars Machines.
Season 1, Episode 2, our retrospective review of Beast Machines, Season 1, Episode 2,
Yay.
Master of the House.
I'm
So,
Joy, I'm the wife.
I'm Mike, I'm the husband, who
And
forgot his water.
Uh-oh.
There it is.
You will have to forgive the wife. She is nesting very hard right now. So I'm working on a baby project while we do this.
We're trying some different things right now, audio-wise, because some of the audio on our podcast has been not great. So, we're trying a couple of different things.
But at least it was only for, the good part of the Beast Wars Machines.
Well, we'll definitely go back. And, if I have to, find a way to download that audio and boost it or something, I'm sure I can do that and replace it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Anyway, so Master of the House.
Yes.
I need to eat something, so go ahead and start with your opinion.
I didn't hate this episode as much as I thought I was going to.
Really?
I
feel like this is where the garbage starts.
I mean, I think the garbage started when they killed Depth Charge. Because you don't kill a character like Depth Charge.
Well, they probably...
Actually, honestly...
would have revived him.
The garbage probably started when they killed Dinobot, because that is objectively the best character in probably any series of anything ever.
It's also objectively the peak of Beast Wars as a story.
Yeah.
A culmination and a peak.
And then they brought him back and just completely... Anyway, we're talking about Beast Machines, not Beast Wars.
Yeah. So, the episode starts with the Maximals... What?
Struggling to transform.
Right.
Which, by the way, I love that Optimus says, relax and think, and Rat Trap is straining like he can't poop.
Yeah. Which, right there, we're starting this episode off fresh with the Rat Trap derailment.
I noticed something about Rat Trap in this that I really am kind of upset about, is they're making him almost the naive, dumb kid, which I can't get behind.
Yeah.
I can't.
He was objectively the most resourceful one in the prior series.
He had a special set of skills that you get from being very streetwise and street experienced, and they're backing him up. I get him struggling because, no, I'm not down for the hippity-dippity woo-woo stuff, which Rat Trap very much would not be. But there is no character in the Beast Wars series that was not more in tune with themselves than Rat Trap was.
I don't know if that's true.
Oh, it was true. And B...
Okay. I stand corrected, apparently.
And B, he's not an idiot.
Right.
He wouldn't be down for the holistic, drum circle, like the stuff I try to get you to do.
Exactly.
Meditating
yoga.
And the yoga. Yeah, he wouldn't be down for that. But that doesn't mean he'd be a complete and total idiot.
He would have a learning curve.
Street smarts at all. And in this, he had no street smarts. Forget the woo-woo. I was like, ugh.
I feel like he's the kind of character that would be potentially the last one to adhere to this new lifestyle. But then also would eventually come around to it and probably be one of the best at it. Because he's a tactician. Also,
I'm sorry, Cheetor being the big brother character to Rat Trap, no. Stop right there, you fucked up.
Yeah, especially and I don't mind Cheetor surpassing his mentors or peers or,
Yeah, but even when you surpass a mentor or a
superiors.
peer, you don't become their superior and mentor. You just don't.
Well, you could have that moment where Rat Trap goes, I remember when I was leading you through battle. Later on down the series where Cheetor has surpassed him and Rat Trap acknowledges that.
That would be cool.
Yeah, there's no dynamic like that whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
and this is where it gets confusing on, like, where in the series the creators don't seem to have Beast Wars knowledge, but, like, at other points it feels like they're very referential and are building. So it's very piecemealed, and it's very just, amorphous, where it does feel like it could be from Beast Wars, and then also just completely objectively not.
Yeah.
And that is one of those, just like, it can't... There's so many things that happen in this opening scene that are just non-congruent with Wars. Just at all.
I mean, the boobies are still there.
Yeah, but they're really tiny. them some AA cups right there.
There's some serious focus on them during that transformation, though. I'm just saying that is literally the first part of her robot mode that we...
The transformation...
Fill the screen with.
So I don't mind the metaphysical use of... this is what it is. Okay, this is not my interpretation. There's no other way to look at this. The sexual innuendo of her transformation. Her on all fours, arching her back, her eyelids half down as she's groaning upwards toward the air.
Face she makes in general.
She's making an O face. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about
nobody else really made those weird faces like she did.
Well, and you go back to things like Evangelion that uses sex to... Not sex, but, intimacy and, sex to, add weight to what's happening. And it's like, okay...
Evangelion was just a giant, 2-season-long metaphor for puberty anyway?
1 season in a movie alternate ending / not alternate ending.
Either way, Evangelion can get away with it, because that was the whole point of Evangelion. What's going on with...
I don't know if I mind them using that sort of imagery to layer the story. I don't know how I feel about it in a kid's show, but at the same time, it's so subtle that if you don't know what... you have to be an adult. You have to be far enough along developmentally to get it. You know what I mean?
I might agree with you if they had done it to every character, but it was...
They just did it with the
Black
girl.
Arachnia.
They don't do it with Botanica, but... the less said about her, the better anyway. So.
I mean, that's kind of the thing. It's like, regardless of male or female, although eyebrow raise, picking Black Arachnia specifically feels fanboyish.
I don't get that.
I don't know.
I could see where it could be, but I don't get that from this. I think this genuinely came from a pure place in a weird way. I don't... Okay. Just way, judging by
There's a reason they singled out Black Arachnia. I want to know why, because I can't say I agree or like it.
Well, you think about 20 years ago, what a female character represented in an all-boy show. But I would not say that anyone had a crush on this character that helped create her and or write her. Just judging by the horrific way she looks. And maybe they were aiming for attractive, but the 5 head with the 6 eyes,
is weird.
I don't think anyone was having secret feelings about this character. They were probably about the original version of Black Arachnia. Specifically in her inception.
Maybe that could be just sort of a period thing too, though. The 90s, everybody the 80s and the 90s, if she was gorgeous, you put her in the bigger shoulder pads. The bigger the shoulder pads, the prettier the girl and the more you crushed.
I mean, also think about Rika from Tamers. She's the one who had the most... I don't like getting into this because she's a child. But Tamers, I'd like to think from a pure point of view, they were representing the spiritual bond between the characters when they merged.
I was like, how are we, or what?
It's just,
where are you going with that one, Mike?
It's a hard way to, it's a hard thing to broach because it is such a touchy subject, but if you look at it from a spiritual standpoint, the way they did the biomerging with her.
Well, also, in every culture that's not America, nudity and the body is not so, yeah.
They haven't
over sexualized it because they haven't over tabooed it like we have.
I think Lewis Black said, and this is exactly why I wanted to review this show, because I think there are much deeper ideas here than a lot of people give it credit for.
Oh, yes.
But
I noticed that in this episode.
But Lewis Black, he's a comedian I really like, who said that, God, I wish I could think of the quote right offhand, but America is not sexually mature enough to have, like, nudity in billboard ads. That's just something, I think he was in Germany, I want to say, and there was an ad for breast augmentation. And it was a naked, topless woman on the thing as an ad. And he went, it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And it stopped me in my tracks because I'm a sexually immature American. So, that's...
I was just picturing a billboard ad with a topless woman in it in America. That road would have the most accidents.
Yes! Yeah,
oh
I think he makes a joke about that, too. So I kind of get where you're coming from, where it's only the female character that gets that treatment. But you think about the time where the female character represented sexuality.
But not just only the female character, just Black Arachnia. It's almost like there's something they're saying...
Because not Botanica, you mean?
Maybe. It's like... This was something I actually was stuck in for a while, personally, as like a 12, 13-year-old kid. I wanted to be badass. I wanted to be the girl with the skateboard. I wanted to be the girl who shot guns and had knives, and I wanted to be the girl who played guitar and drums. And I stopped myself from indulging in a lot of that because the badass girl was also the slut.
From your point of view at the time.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. There
was something societally that if you were, Ripley, then you also had a huge body count.
She definitely put some aliens down, but yeah. No, I see what you're saying. I think maybe if there had been an angle on this where everyone's transformation had a different spiritual twist on it, like if
that would have been awesome.
If Optimus had literally gone into a whatever this pose is, where you do the thing, where you put your fingers together and you cross your legs.
I don't know. The meditation pose, the Buddhist meditation pose.
Yeah, which he could do because both of his forms have 2 arms and 2 legs. And then Cheetor has some other spiritual representation throughout his transformation. Maybe it wouldn't be such a big issue then that the female character represents the sexual part of spirituality.
Or even just that particular character. Maybe. I don't know. I don't like the O-Face. Long and short of it.
No, it is creepy. 100%. I think it comes from a pure place, especially considering the time in which it was made. It looks horrific. It looks not so look good. Bad. Well, don't ever let me understate the fact that these characters' faces...
So does her robot mode. Although...
that's what I was talking about, her robot face. Yeah.
Just her robot mode in general, it's weird. Like, decide what you're doing with the legs and why they're hanging off the butt like that.
So, I get the feeling they left that there so that the toy makers could, do something.
Although that beast mode, oh my god, her beast mode.
The more I see the beast mode, the more I like it.
I want to not like it, but honestly, they do so much creative stuff with the beast modes. Like the way the characters interact with the environment when they're in beast mode in this series. That I can't not love it. And then the way that she specifically moves in beast mode, I'm like, I hate spiders, but...
I downloaded a picture of the Maximals trying to maximize in episode 1 for the episode 1 thumbnail.
Yeah.
And I caught a glimpse of, how towering she is over them and, wider in all dimensions.
But also still
way less massive. Yes.
Yeah.
Like, probably only bigger than Rat Trap mass-wise.
Yeah.
And maybe Cheetor. But, like, still, like, there's such a dainty, spread out...
Dainty, I like that.
Not draped, but you know what I mean. Like,
there's an elegance to it.
I think I can't remember if it was this episode or if it's later on down the line where she, like, is thrown and lands over top of someone and encircles them with her legs. And I don't know.
Oh, that's cool.
I was kind of busy during this episode and I've seen it several times, so I wasn't paying as attention as I should.
I did not see that.
Yeah, I don't think it was in this episode.
I may have missed it because baby project.
She's nesting. We are...
I'm so nesting.
Just a couple of days before this, we had a labor scare. So we are very close to baby dropping.
And then today they said, oh, yeah, you're probably only a week away. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. So she's probably going to be early. So if labor starts during this, that would be awesome.
Yay.
But, yeah. And so this scene... This is like, the scene is really divided for me because Optimus flips back and forth between Old Op and Machines Op.
Yeah.
Like, there's this moment where Rat Trap's trying to do it and Optimus is like, do you feel it? And there's such a warmth. I didn't notice this for years. And then I think it was a couple years back, I was watching the episode and I went, there he is. There's Wars Optimus right there. There was that warmth there, that love, and then the Moldrone shows up. You lost your emotional focus, and he's like, all right, people, we're moving out.
Again. Like,
yes.
And they're all arguing with him all the time. Like, yes, they were contradictory in Beast Wars. It happened on occasion, but they were still friends. This one, it was like... It was honestly like me with one of the managers I don't like. Not at my current job, but like at the other one.
In Beast Wars, the arguments are legitimate and drive the plot. In this show, the plot drives the arguments.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it just... You defame your characters when you twist them to fit where you're trying to take the story instead of letting them take you there or see where the story can go. And that's sort of the downside of having this rigid structure across 2 seasons that they had more or less planned from the beginning.
I wonder, too, if it doesn't come down to being just Optimus's fault. Because I noticed in this one, he's a bad quarterback, is what it comes down to. Like, I'm not sports.
You mean a bad coach?
No, bad quarterback. So, let me explain. You know I'm not sports.
I'm not.
You're not sports. I doubt anybody listening to this is very sporty. You might be if you're that well-rounded. I'm jealous. But I'm not sporty. But one thing I do know is a good quarterback, even though he is the one everybody's watching on the field, he is not the only one on the field. And if a quarterback is acting like, I am the show, his teammates end up under a lot of extra stress, a lot of extra pressure. Nobody performs right. Nobody performs well. The quarterback is a conductor, not the hero. And Optimus in this is already being a bad quarterback. This is my fault. I did this. Mm-hmm. This is my response. No, it's not.
So I'll touch on this more later because, like, it's going to be way more relevant later.
Yeah.
But this show, I don't think bringing in anime influences into an American show is a objectively necessarily bad idea. However, the problem is the stuff they bring in is the main guy can only do stuff. Is the only one, like Red Power Ranger, Tai from Digimon, Ichigo, Goku, all of these like animes where it's the one guy. He's the only one. And occasionally DBZ will be like, okay, Goku or Gohan can do stuff. Occasionally.
Although...
And we're talking like later in DBZ, like getting into like the Frieza saga later.
Really, really, really good, better animes that I always enjoyed. Full Metal Alchemist, Naruto, Outlaw Star. You had that one guy. A
well-rounded cast.
Yeah, you had that one guy who stood out and was definitely...
the protagonist.
The better of everybody, but he wasn't the only one doing awesome things.
And he wasn't even necessarily, I would even say, the best in Outlaw Star. I mean, you had the samurai girl, you had the cat girl who was super strong, the samurai girl who was super skilled.
Oh yeah, in the right situation, any other cast member could have kicked Gene's ass.
Yeah, exactly. He wasn't the one.
And I mean, Naruto and Full Metal Alchemist, that was the same. Under the right situation, any of those other side characters could have kicked the main character's asses. It's just they were the main character because they pushed harder, or they wanted it more and they trained harder, or whatever. They weren't the main character because, well, I just am naturally the best. They wanted it. They worked for it.
This show gets real bad about that only Optimus can do things for the plot. And I'm not saying there aren't moments where other characters do impact the plot and or the shape of, the story or the landscape, because they do, but in way more minuscule ways than Wars.
It's just, oh, things are bad. What do we do? Look in the sky. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? It's Primal.
And that's another thing that I don't think necessarily is immediately obvious, is that Wars Primal would rely on his team. He would get knocked out of the fight and tell Rat Trap to lead. Or he would get killed and Rhinox would take over. Or Dinobot would take over. It was so much more balanced, and that is such a... And I hate to do this. Anything I say about Bob Skir, please take from a creative standpoint. I'm a firm believer that you can dump on the creator's creations, but not as the person.
Creator.
That said, I wonder if this is a reflection of his leadership over the show.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it could just be the anime influence, because there's very clearly an anime influence. The whooshy backgrounds and the tone and so many things. I mean, the undertones with Black Arachnia, all that stuff. But it does make me wonder if there wasn't a drill sergeant-y quality to the way he led this show.
Maybe he thought that's the way a good quarterback plays.
And if you've ever seen an interview with him, and I've watched many, the man is never apologetic. I've never once seen him say... I've seen George Lucas say, maybe I went too far in a few places with Episode 1 of Phantom Menace. I have never once seen Bob Skir say, I made a mistake here, or I understand why someone might not like it. He always is 100% in defense of what he made. And that rubs me the wrong way. That makes me think maybe this Optimus thing comes from that, rather than, entirely an earnest place like the anime influence.
On one hand, I don't think you should ever apologize for something you created. Ever. Never, ever, ever. Because it takes so much to create something. Whether it's good or not, who cares? You had the balls to get out there and do it.
That's
Being
fair.
defensive of something, that's a different story. And that denotes something else going on.
Okay, it's not that he just hasn't apologized. It's that he's never acknowledged a potential flaw. Of the interviews that I've seen. He always only has positive things to say about the show. And I could I could see a person getting to that mentality after the online backlash, because he did face some bad stuff online. The fans that were mad about this show were cruel to him, death threats, no joke.
Oh
so
my
I could
God, that's too far.
I could see him becoming entirely one-minded about it because of that. At the same time, if you look at forum posts from the era when this aired, he was rude. He was not a gracious creator. I mean, he was just so. I don't think there's a good goodwill there.
So this was Twitter practice
then. Yeah. Maybe. So, and I'm not, I don't want to say that he didn't go through crap, because he definitely 100% did. I just think that his reaction to it over the decades is very potentially indicative of a flaw with the way he leads this show, at least. And I haven't seen anything else from him, and I've been sort of morbidly curious to look up other stuff from him, but I've never gone that far.
Do you know, I would be curious to look up stuff to see if he's not one of those people that, rather than the show becoming him, if he didn't inhabit what he thought the show was supposed to be. So he's not normally like that, but in the making of this one, and whenever it comes up, he becomes Optimus.
So sort of a method acting version of show running? Okay. Maybe. I doubt it, but, like, that's a neat idea. That would be interesting. So, anyway, not to go too far, but the Optimus as one issue becomes so much worse as the series goes down.
Yeah.
You know, and it's weird because the show does specifically take moments out to not have him lead. But it also very clearly paints the picture that this is the incorrect action. So, and that's mostly. There's sort of another angle on it, but the through line of this show is so just bullheaded bullet train that it's hard to see any of the other, like, periphery stuff. So.
It's weird.
So that was kind of a long spiel on what happened after they fled they wanted to go topside and find out, see if there were any other people.
I love Arachnia being the bad influence. Like, fine, stay here if you want, but I'm going.
Which, I suppose that is kind of what I would interpret the maximal version of Predacon Black Arachnia to be. Because she would do that on her own, but now she's a maximal, so she's a little bit more team programmed.
Yeah.
So she now does that with others and drags them into her runoff things.
I feel like...
And it's moments like that where I'm like, oh yeah, okay, they were referencing Beast Wars.
Yeah. I feel like, too, in a way, and I think this might be kind of my problem with this series altogether, is I feel like these characters are not the explorers then turned warrior that they were in Beast Wars. I feel like they're just a bunch of children. And going with that, and going with the metaphor, she's definitely the one in the Sandlot who would be like, whatever, just climb the fence to get the ball. Who cares?
The dog's not going to hurt you.
It's just a dog. Watch this. Bangs on the fence to make the dog bark. Ha ha ha, stupid mutt.
I do wish that this show had attempted a little bit more poignantly. Because the Maximals are the only ones that really have a dynamic.
Yeah.
Later on, you'll see Jetstorm and Thrust and Tankor, but they don't really have a dynamic. Jetstorm and Thrust kind of do, but that buck stops real short. So, if they'd actually taken some time to go, this is Cheetor's perspective, this is his philosophical approach, or his ethos to what's happening, this is Black Arachnia's perspective, this is and Rat Trap is such a he is the least effective pawn on the storytelling chessboard.
He really is.
He's
Which
so
is really
ineffectual.
Frustrating because Rat Trap and Beast Wars
was not.
He had a very, very specific and unique set of skills that was just like,
I will find you and I will kill you.
Yes! It was a set of skills you only get by living on the street and being streetwise. But no, he has no skills, he has no street smarts, he's just Rat Trap.
There's literally an episode in season 2 where he is distracted by what I think was implied in the writing phase to be like a pornographic hologram, but then they realized there was no way to do that without it being just not okay for TV.
In Beast Wars?
In season 2 of this show. Where he's distracted by that while the Viacon General is attacking Botanica. And it's just like... No! What was in that lock virus that changed everyone's personalities in this show? So, but that's my point. Like, none of the characters have philosophies. They're supposed to have ideologies that conflict, but there aren't any concrete facts to any of those ideologies that would help you understand why they're conflicting.
They got the conflict part. They just didn't... The ideology is not clearly communicated.
It's like their ideology is argue.
Yeah.
Rather than think about the environment they're in. And then you get Rat Trap, who just, even if he did have an ideology, they went so far to make him a completely useless personality. Like, from a narrative standpoint, like, this isn't even me being mad about what they did to Beast Wars Rat Trap. Just, like, as a standalone character in this show,
who are you
why would you put this character in this show? Give Black Arachnia the tech stuff, have it be the tip of one of her legs that can plug into computer terminals, and you can completely expunge the show of Rat Trap.
Do you know what would be even better? Make Rhinox the techie one.
You know, and then bring in the tech guy from the last show.
And then make Tankor Rat Trap.
And that's cool, too, because, like, the Viacon generals are inverted personalities.
Yeah.
So if Rat Trap is the small, smart, resourceful guy, quick in a fight, the big, dumb, stupid bruiser.
And I could honestly see Rat Trap going evil. Like, I would buy that. I would buy that faster than I would Rhinox. You would still have to justify it.
Well,
but it wouldn't be as much of a jump.
Well, I can fix Rhinox, and I will do that in episode 4. But
okay.
Huge ulterior, obvious, not ulterior motive for me wanting to review this show.
I think that would have been a better storyline. I think it would have hit emotionally in a way that was upsetting, the way Dinobot's death was upsetting, but not a betrayal, like Rhinox going evil was a betrayal.
And this is where it gets confusing, because it's like, okay, the reason that Rhinox got turned into Tankor instead of Rat Trap is because they used the Beast Wars transmetals to decide which characters made it into this show. So Silverbolt and Rhinox weren't transmetalized, so they got hit by the virus harder, so they're the Viacon generals in the show. So, okay, you're referencing Beast Wars for that. But if you're thinking about Beast Wars, you would also be thinking about the fact that Rhinox is not the character to be Tankor, it's Rat Trap. So then now it feels like they're not thinking about the Beast Wars characters and lore. And it's just, I lose track of where I think...
Where is the line of what you did study and what you didn't?
Yeah, it's very I mean, I guess it could have been as simple as, these are the 6 characters, and one of the guys on this show going, why do these 4 look different than these 2? Oh, well, these 2 are organic. Okay, well, these 2 will be affected by the lock virus, and we'll kick them out of the show and make them generals. So, like, I mean, I guess it could have been something as simple as that, but it just... I'm constantly doing mental gymnastic hoop jumping to try and figure out, like, what were you thinking?
Yeah.
What was happening
How
here?
did we get from A to oranges?
Usually I can look at a production that's disjointed, like the Star Wars sequels, and go, this is what happened.
Yeah.
Like, the product is obvious. Rian Johnson didn't like what JJ did. JJ didn't like what Rian Johnson did. And it's a very clear cut, and you understand. But with this show, it's a mess. It's an absolute disaster. So they go topside to find that the city info core's been wiped. Somebody deleted all the porn, and Cheetor's not happy about it.
Jesus.
Sorry, that just came to me.
Oh, I love you sometimes. That took me by surprise.
Took me by surprise. I wasn't expecting to say it. It just came out.
Ow.
So,
Don't make me laugh too
laughing
hard.
hurts.
Oh.
We're just at the sucky part of pregnancy.
Yeah.
Final weeks, final days. It's just gonna blow. So, anyway, I don't. Not too much really happens, character or derailment or noteworthy wise. I think in the action scene when the Viacons show up topside.
Not really. It was a neat action scene with
Optimus showed up and you did say something.
I don't remember. But
I think it was something along the quarterback thing you mentioned, so it's probably just a retread of that.
That was kind of where I went, okay, so everybody is entirely useless except Optimus. Optimus is the only player on this field, like, what? It's like when you're playing chess and suddenly you have a pawn, a knight, and a queen. You don't use your pawn or your knight at all anymore. You're hiding your king and you're moving around with your queen.
That's a really good point, is not only the way they wrote Optimus, but the traits they gave him, the physical traits they gave him. He's definitely the strongest.
Yeah.
He's can fly, which he inherited from his old version, but still, he's the only flyer.
He's
the spiritual one.
Spiritually transcendent.
He's the drill sergeant. He's the first one to figure this stuff out. He's every character. The only thing he isn't is Rat Trap's tech stuff. Nobody else really brings anything. Cheetor technically has speed, but tell me where that's actually story-wise practically useful or plot driving. Yeah. It isn't.
He's as Mary Sue gets. Optimus is,
and that may be another reason why I think it's got the vibes of sort of a self-insert character, unintentionally, from a very I guess
not vanity project as much as
subconscious.
Well, you write what you know, you make what you know, and if you know you're going to put you in your own stories again and again and again.
That's fair. Yeah. So,
if you're going through an ugly divorce, your main character may end up in a really bad marriage where he ends up sort of accidentally killing her, not indirectly, while she's pregnant with his twin children, who will end up defeating him later in an installment that comes technically 18 or 19 years after the fact, but was released.
Oh my god, this is a Star Wars reference. I was very confused. I'm like, wait, what is this around?
I was like,
it took me way too long to figure that out.
How obscure can I make this? I did that on purpose.
Okay, yeah. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. I'm just saying, George named the protagonist after himself. That's all. Lucas.
Oh my god. How have I never put that together?
Yeah. The hero is, And even when he was Starkiller, it was Luke Starkiller. It was always Luke.
That's interesting.
Yep.
That's very interesting.
Is it? Or is it just upsetting?
I'm going to look at Luke very differently from now on and be like, is that who you are, Georgie boy?
I still think Luke is a decent character.
Your character?
I don't think he's a great character. I think he's a decent character. And I do think he got pretty paved over with some of the sequel trilogy stuff. Mm-hmm. But, I think that's worth noting.
Do you ultimately want to destroy the Jedi Order again and then go live in seclusion on a rocky island in the middle of nowhere, George?
Well, he didn't make the sequels.
Oh, okay, fair.
So it's J.J. Abrams' fault that Luke bailed on the Jedi Order.
Is that how you see George, J.J.? Is that your opinion?
Because he sold Star Wars to Disney. J.J.'s actually got depth to his writing. Luke bailing on the Jedi Order was...
Okay, hang on. No, we can't go that far. Don't...
No, I'm totally kidding. And there's no way he thought that much about it.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, that was actually a joke. There's no way.
I was like, calm your tits. Like, no.
However, I do believe there is potential for what is written for what is presented to supersede how it was written or what was written. So you could look at it that way, art reflecting life unintentionally from the creator's standpoint, and find value in it there. But I don't think by any stretch of the imagination that JJ has that sort of depth of thinking.
So, how sad is it that even though this episode wasn't that terrible, it was still bad enough that we both prefer to talk about the Star Wars prequel or sequels rather than the 30-minute Beast Machines episode we just watched.
So, we start to get some answers. And this is where the show starts losing its wheels for me, both as a Beast Wars sequel and a show on its own merits. Because Megatron, in this scene alone, is so self-contradictory to me. It's just a mess. Okay, she's making a really evil face that you YouTubers got to see.
So I realized something about Megatron in this scene that I kind of went, oh, they're being genius with him.
Oh, okay. So, first, let's talk about that intro, which was effing awesome.
It was eerie and creepy and gross.
No. Okay, I completely disagree. All right.
I think
the first time I watched this show again in 2011, which was a full decade after it originally aired and I originally saw it, I went, all right, that's cool as hell.
I think it was creepy and gross to me because earlier in the fight scene when
Blackarachnia,
she did the web lasso thing, and you were like, it looked like a tentacle, right?
No, it's not that it looked like a tentacle, it's that it worked like one.
Yeah, I think I was still reeling from that. And then his little black, twisty, reverse smoke thing coming down, I was like, what is with all the goddamn tentacles? Ew.
So on one hand, do they not have Wi-Fi? Like, why does he have to be hardwired into this thing? But on the other hand, this scene, I think that reveal is amazing. The music, the visuals, the drop down, the whole, like, you can call it my throne room. I don't know why I went to Bane with that, but... So...
Ooh, Banetron.
Oh my god, he's got the friggin' crab face mask thing, too. The scenes of the future, lie buried in the past.
Okay, please stop. That's...
Which, I mean, it wouldn't be a thing he says. But anyway.
So bad.
So you think there's something genius with Megatron, and I am actually eager, Beaver, to hear this.
I do. So we closed out Beast Wars with Megatron being...
Godhood.
Yeah, he was there. He freaking lost his godhood, his mind into, oh, I'm not just a prophet anymore. I am the Messiah, guys. Brosifs.
There's a quote near the end of the series where he says, Megatrons don't yield, we conquer, while he's carrying the spark. Yeah. So there's that sort of Legion element to his thinking, potentially, at that point.
So, and I don't know if the writers put this kind of thought into it, but I was watching it and I kind of went, oh, okay. So, we went from being, well, we jumped the shark from prophet to Messiah. From just whatever to the actual God.
Mm-hmm.
And that is how we ended Beast Wars. He arrives on Cybertron.
In the past, so before the Axelon leaves.
Somehow has an interaction with the Oracle. And is upgraded into the beast mode that he has in this episode. He has to have been, because you can only transform when you're in control of your emotions. You go beast mode when you lose control of your emotions.
Well, okay.
And that's part of the upgrade. So it makes sense for him. Okay, so he gets this upgrade thing. The Oracle is probably not just handing him the godhood that he expects. The Oracle has put him in a body that he does not have control of. The Oracle is now an opposing god. Therefore, everything the Oracle stands for is gross and wrong and horrible. Therefore, all organic must be purged. Not just because...
God damn it, you put more thought into that on your second viewing of this episode than they did. And the problem is, I'm going to prove you wrong here in a minute.
Oh,
But the other problem is that you have a really good idea.
Yeah.
You have a good solid foundation for why this character would be acting this way.
Not only is he out of control of the organic, which cannot be tolerated, so all organic must be purged, but also it is the philosophy of the opposing god.
You're wrong, and that's what's upsetting.
Why am I wrong?
Because, A, this is the beast mode he had at the end of Beast Wars.
So?
It looks... Well, then, what do you mean? The Oracle didn't give him anything. He already had that beast mode. What did she give him?
Cheetor, Rat Trap, Black Arachnia, and Optimus all have similar beast modes. And this one isn't...
What do you mean by similar?
To what they had at the end of Beast Wars.
No. This is the same model. It's the exact same thing. The only difference is it's got a different paint job.
Okay.
It is 1-to-1 the same model.
There's something about it that's not the same. Maybe during the upgrade, something happened partway through and he was like, oh wait, I don't actually want this. So he only got partially upgraded. Either way, the Oracle's rules apply to his transformation the same way that they apply to the hero transformations.
So two things. He has a line where he says, I wiped the beast mode clean from my shell. So, like, if you look at the dragon, it's the same model, but it's got all this patchwork facade over it. The literal paint job is different, but the 3D model is exactly the same. Like, if you grayscaled it with a grayscale of the Transmetal 2 from Beast Wars, it's the same one. Identical.
Okay.
So he says that, so I think the patchwork look is implying this is the fallout from him trying to have removed this organic element. But the other thing is that, crap. I forgot. That's okay, I had a tertiary point. Anyway, the Oracle, the Maximals were the first ones to run into the Oracle, because she says at long last a receptive spark. Optimus is the first one she's reformatted. This is the start of the new age. And then, God...
He's the first one she's successfully formatted. Maybe she tried with Megatron and it didn't take.
As far as him losing control and going back into his beast mode, there is a precedent for that set in Beast Wars. Not from him, but from Cheetor. So when Cheetor gets his Transmetal 2 form, he goes into the beast mode and he can't control himself. And Optimus has to literally reach out and connect with his spark.
That weird, like, werewolf episode that they had.
And Optimus has to, like, tame him before he can actually transform into his robot mode.
Yeah, but that one, as far as, like, Call of the Wild crazy, he was not even in his mental facilities.
I'm just saying there's a precedent for it. And then, going back to what I said in the review of episode 1, there are things that I will forgive... I will give artistic liberty to. So, like, them putting Optimus back in his original beast mode for this show. I'm in support of that. The show wanted to have this dichotomy of control, robot mode, lack of control, beast mode. And balancing that. I am in support of. That said, this episode, really crappy conveyance of that. Like, I mean, it conveyed it well, but, like, the final picture looks like crap to me.
Final picture.
The final picture being the interaction between Optimus and Megatron, where Optimus is like, "You're so angry, you're ready to explode." Like that was
something I noticed too.
That is the picture that looks like crap to me. So the idea I will defend. The final product, not so much.
Yeah.
So since we're on that, I do remember you having that reaction. What was your feelings towards that? Because I have feelings towards it, but I don't know how to vocalize it.
It made me feel icky. It made me feel really icky.
Like in a weird pervy way, or?
No, so you probably have never experienced this, but for people out there who are not true crime aficionados...
Oh boy.
You can actually look up true police interrogations on YouTube.
Oh...
And some of them, when the cops are doing it wrong...
It's brutal.
And they're, like, yelling in somebody's face. It just makes you feel icky. I guess the next best example I could come up with is when I was in high school, I got it in my head that I was going to in an attempt to understand, like, where everything was coming from, I was going to read Communist Manifesto and I was going to read Mein Kampf.
I'm not necessarily against that because I think understanding the mindset and voice of the people who wrote it is important.
Yeah.
If I spoke German, I probably would 100% read that just to get the, like...
Well, I found a translation.
Understand. Yeah, but, like...
But still,
I
like,
think
I would assume, go as far as...
I would assume that, like... Because language changes your brain.
Do you know, that's a really good point. We had an orchestra teacher when I was in middle school. I can't remember... No, it was Les Miserables. He learned French, Spanish, and German so that he could read that book or read the opera in all of those different languages so that he could understand it a little better. That's always stood out to me.
I've had this talk, I think with you before, definitely with the people at work. What is sky blue? The color. How do you make it?
By looking up.
What colors go into sky blue?
I don't know. White and blue, I guess?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a simple, like, elementary level question. What is happening? Okay.
I'm waiting for, like, a big reveal riddle and whatever. Keep going.
So, are pink and red the same color?
No.
Okay. What goes into making pink?
Usually white and red.
Mm-hmm. But are sky blue and blue the same color?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay, well that totally destroys my point, because I think most people see sky blue as just light blue. And I think most people see pink and red as separate colors.
Do you know, I remember
reading... And I think it's because of the name. Because fundamentally, they're the same thing.
I remember reading a study years and years and years ago that suggested that language literally changes the way you see color.
Yeah.
And it's not just like, oh, well, blue and sky blue are different colors. No, because of the words that you use to describe a different color, there are different receptors activated in your brain when you look at a color. So when we look at red versus looking at green, the language connects to the visual differently in our brain than it would for somebody who sees rojo and verde.
Yeah, I mean...
Please forgive my accent.
Yeah, don't...
Significant lack thereof.
But you think of, like, banana yellow.
Yeah.
Banana yellow is just light yellow.
Versus mustard yellow, which is honestly brown with yellow tones.
Well, I feel like brown is more of a color than white is, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, light blue is just blue, but less.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No.
You see what I'm saying? But then you think of banana yellow, and it's like, no, that's, you know.
Pre-film school, I probably would have agreed with you. But because of film school and all of this, like, studying the kelvins of color that we had to go into and how every color has its own spectrum. Yeah, I don't see color the way that I did before film school.
So for the layman, I think that's probably the perception, though. Yeah. I know it was for me until I started thinking about these things. Pink is a different color than red. Light blue is the same color as blue. It's just, so... I don't know what that had to do with what we were...
So Beast Wars.
Machines.
Beast machines.
So anyway, I think there's a precedent. I think the idea is fine. Doing the beast mode thing. Just saying having a beast mode means you're susceptible to falling into your beast mode if you don't control your emotions. Techno-organic, transmetal, organic, otherwise. Like, whatever state you're in.
I'm going to stand by my fanon for the rest of this series until I see something to pointedly argue it. Which my fanon is specifically...
God versus God.
I do like God versus God.
I do like this being an entire series about a really convoluted God war. Like, which that's a neat... Okay.
Is very
Doesn't
anime.
Save it, but... Yes.
It's
yes.
very...
Yes.
We were talking about it a couple days ago, but Into the West,
mm-hmm.
which, granted, it's a Chinese story, it's not Japanese, but it is the foundation of a lot of Eastern pop culture
influences and story beats, and
is all about a monkey, literally like a butt-scratching, poop-throwing monkey, who rises to godhood and challenges the gods.
Oh my god, he starts this series out trapped as a monkey, as a gorilla.
Oh, don't ruin Sue. No.
You brought it up! You brought it up! You said it. You led me there. How are you not on the same page? I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying that. I'm just thinking, like, I wonder if that's not one of the influences.
Well, actually, gorillas are apes, not monkeys.
I mean, either way, the parallel is there, and the series ends with the gorilla transcending.
That's insane. I wonder if that was intentional.
Oh my lord.
I wonder if that was intentional, or if that's not an archetype that if you dug in...
A subconscious thing you did by accident.
Keep going back to all through...
Either way, this is exactly why I wanted to review this show. Because as bad as it is, as brutal as it is,
there's
as
some
miserable
depth
as it is,
there.
There is a lot of narrative and artistic creativity and layering that I wouldn't have thought of. Like, you just took me to that. I've been, I watched this show when it aired 2 years ago. Holy crap, 23.
Mm-hmm.
And you just opened my eyes to something I would not have thought otherwise.
I love you.
I love you. I still hate this show.
Yeah.
It's still bad. I still think this scene is bad.
Do you know, there is something I noticed, and I mentioned it while we were watching it, but I kind of went, oh, this is not, like, okay, so what I noticed was the background.
Oh, the very graphic novel style. You and Cheetor's voice actor both very much like the look of the show.
Oh, I didn't say I like it.
Well, okay, point out the graphic novel look.
I noticed it.
Mm-hmm.
It very much looks like a graphic novel, which is very contradictory to Beast Wars, and if you pay attention...
Wait, contradictory how? Like, visually speaking?
Because, yeah, it is visually, tonally, the difference between Sandman and Sin City. When you sit down and you put the movie on, the cinematography takes you to an entirely different place from go. And if you pay attention and you come into Beast Machines ready to be taken to whatever place, you realize it's completely different. Beast Machines is DC. It is
like the DCEU versus Marvel?
That's perfect.
Oh my god, that's exactly what it is.
That's exactly what it is.
It'd be like if an Infinity War and Endgame happened, and then everything else was the DCEU. Like, same characters, but the DCEU was the product. That's... Yeah. There really is a miserable, and I talked about it last time, misanthropic perspective to this show. There's just an ugliness to it.
Yeah.
And, we talked about the narrative driving the arguments.
There's nothing wrong
with that. The arguments
are
irrelevant. It's the fact that these characters are arguing that's the point.
Yeah.
Not the nature of the argument or what it represents, but the fact that they are. At least to me, that's my interpretation.
It really is taking, oh god, what is, like, just the happiest? Oh, that Moon Girl. It's taking Moon Girl and dropping her into, it's not Nightfall. What's that really fantastic Batman in the 80s where Robin is a girl and there's mutants?
Dark Knight Returns. Yeah,
is it Dark Knight Returns? Where he's...
Because you're thinking... I'm not saying Dark Knight Rises. I'm talking about the comic book Returns.
Where he is an actual psychopath.
Yeah, and he's huge and old.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you drop Moon Girl into Dark Knight Returns, it doesn't... You gotta answer why? Did that happen?
But and then like tonally is what you're saying.
Yeah, and then she's gotta stay her character, and you could have a really compelling story with that if you did it well. But you can't drop Moon Girl into Dark Knight Rises and then immediately from entering
Issue
and exiting the portal have her acclimate.
Change on a dime, yeah.
And be the character that she needs to be to survive in this new environment. She has to be her, and we have to watch her become what she would have to become to survive
in this world.
Dark Knight Rises. This one
drops you in and immediately changes the characters.
Yeah.
All of them.
Which, do you know something I realized while we were watching this is on one hand, I can understand everybody being snippy with each other. Especially
because they're agitated. I could get behind
especially
that.
In the beginning episodes. Because, like, honestly, right now, I have so little patience for you and Declan. Like, every single thing you guys do, I want to punch you in the face. You breathe wrong, you laugh wrong. I'm just like...
is her beast machine.
Yeah. It's bad.
No, it isn't. She actually handles herself so well. She's got that. You do.
Aw, thanks.
So...
I love you.
So, Moon Girl, what happens if we drop Moon in this universe?
Ow. Damn it.
That's a reference to last episode.
Return of Moon. Moon is our favorite character on this podcast.
So to kind of springboard off of that, I think we've more or less covered the issues character-wise in this scene at the very least. I feel like there's a way to do this show. Okay, so there's two alternates I would take, starting with the previous episode. Like, leave the previous episode intact, and two alternate directions I think you could have taken it that really would have worked for me, at least. The more probably in line with what we got that would have worked for me is if there had been a much more, like you were saying, transitional survival mechanism these characters develop. If the way they change is gradual over the course of season 1, and Optimus becoming the hardline drill sergeant, a-hole prophet, religious nut job is a culmination, not something he just starts becoming immediately. So if him pulling the trigger on the nuclear bomb in the 13th episode of this season was also in line with his personality completely divulging into this crazy person, that probably would have worked. It would have been rough, but I don't think it would have been rough and immediate and jarring and just 100% upsetting.
Yeah. We needed to see some... I mean, I don't mind them being agitated in the first couple of episodes and short on patience with each other because of the extra agitation, like I said.
And then chilling out a little bit?
And maybe finding their groove to it. But you gotta find a way to tell that story.
And they didn't. These characters, aside from Optimus, at least in my opinion, do not grow. And Optimus doesn't grow so much as, like, congeal and invert but, like, it's still change. It's still, technically growth.
Which is really upsetting because the 2.5, 3 seasons that led up to this was all growth.
Yeah, I mean, you think about War's Optimus and how he goes from the somewhat naive commander who's ideological to, okay, this is not working.
Mm-hmm.
This truce was a joke. It's getting my friends killed. I need to hardline this to, this really isn't working. I'm absolutely just going to walk up to this bastard and punch him in the face.
Yeah.
Like, there's a definite progression there. And even if it's not super great in its development, it is definitely there. And this show just doesn't make that attempt. My other alternate idea, which is a much larger deviation and would rely a lot more on lore, which this show was actually directed not to by Hasbro. So, like, Hasbro told the creative heads of the show, we don't want to be lore heavy like Beast Wars was. And then this show goes way more lore heavy. So, because they did that anyway, they reference things later like the Plasma Energy Chamber and the Kia Vector Sigma and a bunch of other stuff. I think what would have made this work a lot better for me, and probably would have worked on the argumentative end as well,
mm-hmm.
is if this episode they find Megatron and they have to align with him. He's running from the virus as well. Optimus reformats him, they run into the Citadel, and the person leading this whole thing is G1 Shockwave. And you think about what Shockwave's inception was.
Why Shockwave?
That's what I'm getting to. So,
and also, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I do this with that character so consistently.
Yes, the dick joke.
Oh, that's not where I was going.
Yeah, well, One-Eyed Purple Monster. That's what Shockwave is.
I was going with just the Cyclops.
Yeah, One-Eyed.
Just Cyclops. I'm so sorry, I'm not, but do you know what? At least he's not a drill, okay?
Beast Wars 2 Galvatron in his
a very clear...
golden glory. But no, so comic Shockwave is calculating, cruel, patient, mitigating.
He would be the kind of person to create and utilize and run. Oh, that was something else. Megatron said, I don't have to deal with a bunch of individual
minds,
personalities, and minds. And I was like...
No more individual minds is the quote.
And I was like, yeah, your last crew was kind of a problem for you, huh?
If you wanted to assign a continuity there, you could. I don't think that was intended.
I thought that was part of the semi-genius of the God versus God thing that he is he was like, do you know what? Also, never doing any of that again. If they weren't trying to stab me in the back, they were just completely...
incompetent,
Yeah. Unreliable, unusable, just, I can't. Nope, I'm not doing another Waspinator. I'm not pandering to another Inferno. I'm not dealing with another Rampage or Tarantulas. It's not happening. Not happening.
I'm still mostly in the mindset that anything that connects is accidental. So you can look for that there, and I've said it before, sometimes what is finalized transcends what was written, what was intended. Yeah. So you can do that and draw strength or meaning from that. You, the macro you, like, anyone.
This is still my new fanon. Part of the reason he turned everybody into drones is because he wasn't dealing with it anymore. He was over it. Which, honestly, as an ex-manager,
if I could have droneified my employees.
I mean, I don't necessarily want to dronify them, just get them more to, like...
in line.
The same... Get them more onto the same page, but there were definitely some people I worked with who, in order to get there, would have required a lobotomy. So... I see it.
This is why I say Shockwave, though, because Shockwave doesn't have a personality. He literally exists in a body where his personality was ripped out for, I think it was a punishment. That's the lore. They did the same thing to Whirl. That's why he's got the monocular head.
Really?
Not in Cyberverse, but like comic G1 style.
I was gonna say
Shockwave apparently used to have a face, and I found that out a couple of months ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I kind of want to see that.
In retroactive backstory. But that's why I picked Shockwave, because he doesn't have a personality, so he's the exact guy to run a planet of nobody with a bunch of drones. And
so wait, they took his personality away as a punishment for something?
Yeah, I don't remember what.
Wow, that's freaking genius. This guy's clearly dangerous. Let's take away any inhibitions he may have.
Any of the empathy he might possess.
God!
But, Shockwave is Darkseid Spock. That's who he is.
Yeah.
Spock doesn't, so, like, and you distill that down to its rawest form of not, nothing illogical. And that's who, and you lose the organic pulsing dragon in a trench coat, sure, but I don't think that adds anything to this series. And it's an idea that Mainframe was weirdly obsessed with around this time, because if you watch Action Man, which I have, Dr. X in the show, before he jumps bodies, is this, like, deformed blend of organic and mechanical in a trench coat. So, like, they use that idea twice. He's actually voiced by Rampage, which is really cool.
Oh, that is cool.
The parallels are weird. But then, like, you think about Megatron, like, what is Megatron's goal here? From an entirely disconnected, unemotional mind, okay, turning Cybertron into a completely automated mechanical hellscape would work.
Mm-hmm.
But Megatron has a personality. Even if he's, like, repressing it in this show. Let's say it's been 10 years since he conquered Cybertron, right?
Okay.
Has he just been sitting there telling his drones to patrol nothing?
Well, he's been taking a lot of baths with his rubber duck.
But like, it really begs the question: what is this character doing?
Mike, my love, put yourself in his shoes for all of 5 seconds.
They're big.
Okay, now slow down. Let's
But he
say
wears Crocs.
Let's say
because he used to turn into a crocodile.
I'm gonna smack you if you don't shut.
The pun is strong.
Oh my god! If your dream came true, and you could live out in a farm house in the middle of nowhere, all the food and supplies that you needed, and nobody was going to come and knock on your door or ring your doorbell, and it was just you.
And Mia.
Okay, and Mia. What would you do?
But that's the thing. I don't like to subjugate people. Megatron's whole personality is he loves being on top. He loves being over others.
Right, so he has achieved his dream. That actually begs the question, is how long has he conquered? How recently has it been? Because, like, if he just finally got the last person into the drone and he was like, oh, it's done! What? And then here comes Optimus and they're all showing up and he's like, ah!
This episode paints the picture, at least to me, that he's been here a while. His goal was to have no one. And it would be really great if they showed up and he was like, oh, thank God, something to kill, to end the boredom. But that's not where he is. He's mad they're there because they're interrupting his sitting there doing nothing. Who's he monologuing to?
Well, if it is God versus God, like my fanon says...
Maybe he's still fighting with the Oracle?
He's trying to figure out, okay, how do I get to her?
I suppose.
How do I get to that level? How do I... Like, he's still got work to do.
So that's great and all, but you put a lot of thought into that the show doesn't necessarily say happened.
I think you might be expecting a lot from episode 2.
If it was the board, I would flip the other side and say, okay, I get it, because every time they assimilate someone, they gain something.
Do you know what? And maybe you're not putting too much into episode 2, because I was about to argue that, like, this early in the series, we're not wanting questions answered, we're wanting questions asked. If you were writing a series like this that is very dark and dreary and DCEU, you want it to be a mystery. Maybe episode 2 is doing exactly what it's supposed to do, and you are asking the questions the writers wanted the audience to be asking at this point. Except that I don't think they wanted those questions asked. I think they just wanted questions asked. They wanted people to go, oh my god, what is going on?
It's like in BVS when they have the courthouse scene where they want to, like, talk about the merits of Superman, but instead then blow up the courthouse. And it's like, oh, you want to bring up interesting ideas, but you don't want to explore interesting ideas. And, like, this episode, Optimus literally says, I seem to remember you had a beast mode too. What about that? What about the T-Rex mode? What about the Dragon mode? And Megatron's response is, I wiped it clean from my shell, and there's no other building on that from here on out. This is the place where they could have started laying the groundwork for the answers to those questions, but they never touch on them again. So the flaws start here for me.
Probably, yeah, at this point.
On that topic.
Honestly, at this point, because of my new fanon, and because of a couple of other things I saw in this episode, I'm going to pay a little bit different attention this time around. I think being a little away from Beast Wars, for me, is going to help. Because the first time we watched this, we powered through Beast Wars.
And then we went straight into this.
I don't think I ever got over Code of Hero. I never had the space from that one. And then we jumped into this. not a good way to introduce beast machines. If anybody's wondering, if you want to power through Beast Wars, awesome, but definitely take a break.
I took a year off before I did Beast Machines, and I still hated it. So I don't think it's going to get better for you.
How many years has it been for me now? 4?
Honey, it's 2023.
5?
We watched it in 2016. It's been 7 years.
It's been, oh my god.
It's been,
Where has the time gone?
And that's another reason I didn't kind of want to not do Beast Wars first. Like, do the refresh, but not the, like, whole picture. This show should be reviewed on its own merits as well, because I still think it's just as bad. But I think giving it that fair shake of saying, okay, let's try it this way, and it's still being bad is worthwhile.
There's some fairness and some clarity that you get
with distance.
With distance. And I forgot my point. I lost it. I got a squeeze and I'm gone. Like, I got a contraction, which is basically...
Oh, you received a squeeze.
Yeah.
And it wiped your brain.
Yes.
Like they did with Shockwave, which would have made him a better villain for this show. Oh, okay. I do have one last point.
What's
Optimus totally could have won the day. The whole show in this episode.
Because he had that crazy MMA move where he pinned down the dragon?
Well, no, he pissed Megatron off. Megatron disconnected from his control harness, and all of the Vehicons shut down.
Okay.
If Optimus had just, like, shot the control harness, because he watched all the Vehicons droop on screen. He knew that this was the answer. If he destroyed the control harness, it wouldn't have mattered what Megatron did. And this is another one of those points where, like, the characters are being driven by the plot. They're not driving the plot. If he had thought the way he should be thinking from the person we know him to be,
he would have done that.
Yeah, he would have beaten the enemy at this point.
That's true. That's a very, very good point. I have a point.
What's that?
Other parents, when they put down their kid, use the evening to watch their R-rated movies that they don't get to watch when the child is awake. We watch more cartoons.
Bye!